So there you are in your kitchen trying to make a nice meal, and you suddenly have a jar, a bottle, or some other type of cap that you can't get open. How do you solve the problem? Let's talk about the actual problem you're facing and then some simple, real solutions, not hacks, to solve it. As a dad and a mechanic, we solve this same problem every single day, but on nuts and bolts and other types of threaded hardware. It's the exact same problem and many of the exact same solutions. What you're really dealing with is threads and the interference fit between threads on component A and component B. What we mean by interference fit is those threads are not exactly the same planes, and the tighter you twist those components, the farther those threads go together, the more friction you have in that joint, which holds it tighter. Which is exactly the reason why when somebody puts the lid on the pickle jar gently, it's easy to get off. When somebody puts the lid on the pickle jar really tightly, there's significant interference and significant force is taken to undo it. But what about a brand new jar? Why are these, particularly when they're still vacuum sealed, are so difficult to get undone? When that vacuum is pulled on that particular jar, whether it's pickles or spaghetti sauce, it allows that lid to get down farther onto the jar, which allows the lid to be rotated further, which after it all cools or gets out of the vacuum state, you're going to have more friction and more interference because that lid got twisted on farther. The other thing you need to consider with a jar that's already been opened is there something on those threads that's adding extra adhesion, causing it to be stiffer to get opened? Us mechanics often use a thread locking compound on nut and bolt joints to be able to add a chemical adhesion like glue. The same thing happens with jars that you've opened, like this one of creamed Amish honey. I have a really hard time getting it open because so much of that honey has made its way onto that threaded surface and causes extra friction. At the end of the day, your problem is simple. Overcome the friction of the mechanical interference, which might be aided by some type of other substance in those threads. Okay, enough of the problem. Let's talk about solutions. There's really three things you're trying to do. Number one, increase your grip. Number two, increase the leverage or the torque that you're applying to whatever it is you're trying to open. And number three is reduce that chemical or mechanical adhesion that might be inside of that interference joint, causing you extra trouble. Let's start with my number one favorite tool for solving any of these problems and is the foundation of building upon any of these other tools, the under cabinet gripper. This is an under cabinet lid opener, and it's literally like having an extra set of hands. The V-shaped opening is where your lid is going to go into. There's a smooth side on one half, and there's serrated teeth on the other. The purpose of that is to allow you to put any size of lid in there, and as you rotate, the teeth grip the lid and allow the bottle to continue to rotate. The other benefit here is because the tool is gripping the lid, I can focus both of my hands gripping the bottle or jar. Have a larger lid, it makes no difference. You stick it in, rotate, and opens the lid. My hand may still slip on that jar, particularly if I don't have grip strength. So here's a simple solution. If you use some kind of a glove, like these outdoor work gloves, or even a set of dishwashing or latex nitrile gloves, it's likely going to be able to increase your grip because of the added friction between your hand and the jar or bottle you're trying to rotate. Now with that extra friction between my hands and the jar or bottle, I don't have to focus nearly as much on just squeezing as I can on squeezing and rotating. Now I promised you a brief lesson on leverage and rotational torque, and that's for you people out there who have very weak grip strength that you can't get a hold of this and squeeze real hard, even with gloves or something else. You just really struggle. That's where we're going to come in with a tool like this to increase our leverage. Now this tool is actually called a strap wrench, and you're going to find this in many mechanics toolboxes. And the benefit of a strap wrench is you can adjust it to any size of diameter that you want to be able to grab and grip and rotate whatever it is you're trying to spin. So why does a tool like this and leverage make it so much easier to open a jar? Simple. Rotational torque is a very simple mathematical formula of the amount of force applied multiplied by the distance away from the center point of the rotation. If I apply 10 widgets of force here versus 10 widgets of force here, I have more rotational torque out here because I'm 10 times 10 is 100 widgets versus 10 times 5, which is only 50 widgets. The longer the lever, the easier it is to apply more force because I can push with the same amount. I have more rotational torque. So with a strap wrench, you wrap it around whatever it is you want to rotate, put it into your easy under cabinet jar opener, and pull simply, and the jar opens. I had to apply very little force because I had so much length in my lever. With any of these tools that I'm using in my own home, I'll drop Amazon links down in the description below, just in case you want to check them out. For those of you with very weak grip strength, get the longest lever possible and you apply minimal force to be able to open that lid. This is my next biggest size strap wrench, and in this situation, I apply very little force because I have such a long lever. I have huge rotational torque. Lid's open. Now, if you've seen one of these before or have one in your kitchen, that's exactly what it's trying to do, is get a hold of the lid, give you a longer lever. I don't like these because it's very specific to certain sizes of jars. It doesn't fit, for example, this pickle jar, and it's also very flexible. So when I go to squeeze on top of something, it actually bends down and doesn't give the best grip. I would prefer to use a real tool, same as a mechanic uses every day, that's very reliable. Now you're all alone, it's Christmas Eve, there's no stores open, Amazon can't deliver you strap wrenches in time. What's another little trick you could use? Well, increase the diameter of whatever it is you're gripping and you will get more rotational force because, again, you're farther away from the rotational point. So if I took, for example, duct tape and I wrapped it around that jar a bunch of times so it went from this big a diameter to this big a diameter, am I getting more rotational force? Absolutely you are. So anything that you can wrap around that to make it a larger diameter, you're going to get the same effect as a strap wrench or some other kind of tool. One last technique that's important to remember, particularly with stuff like syrup and jelly and any of those other sugar-based products that really get sticky in the refrigerator, is if you heat them up, it's going to cause them to turn back into that liquid type form and be easier to open. If you take simple hot water, take the lid, flip it upside down, give it a couple minutes so that that product gets back into a liquid state. Now when I grab a hold of it, it's going to be easier to rotate because there's less adhesion in those threads. I want to give you one last little technique for a brand new lid, particularly on a jar. If you look where the lid itself actually grabs a hold of the jar, if you put your screwdriver underneath of there and you pull out, what you're actually doing, and I just heard the vacuum seal crack, you're opening that up to release some of the tension, and now that the vacuum seal is gone, it's significantly easier to open. Reminder, for any of the products that I use in my own home, I put links down in the description below. Also, if you enjoyed this content, hit the like button, share it with another person, go check out some of my other videos. It really is the only way you can help support this channel that I do completely by myself on the side for fun for you. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Stay curious, friends.